All right, Shalom Akim. First and foremost, want to start off by giving all praise and glory to YAHAWAH, YAHAWASHI, QADASH. I would like to give double honors to the apostles and elders at Great Millstone who rule well. And I would like to send salutations to all the Akim pushers worth in truth and sincerity. All right, it's going to be a lesson done in spirit and power of YAHAWAH, YAHAWASHI, Lord willing to edify the flock of the Lord. All right, and this lesson is going to go into this article called The American Experience, the Suit Zoo Riot. All right, and if brothers familiar with the Zuzu riots, this basically happened, like it says right here, 80 years ago, the murder of young Mexican-American man ignited a firestorm of racial tensions in World War II era Los Angeles. Los Angeles in 1942 was on the verge of exploding. Wartime tensions and influx of servicemen, overzealous authorities, rebellious young, and racial strife brought the city to its breaking point. Okay, and that part of LA, it's heavily populated by Mexicans, man, which is the tribe of Issachar, okay, the so-called Mexicans, okay, and this is another sign how, not only Judah, man, has felt the wrath of these Edomites, Issachar, these Mexicans like to say, and basically the whole northern kingdom, they make fun of Judah because, they'll say, oh, you were a slave and this and that, okay. And, not knowing that their people, through the history, which, just because this history isn't put on the limelight like the history of the so-called Negro captivity, doesn't mean you didn't go through it. Okay, we went through it. It just wasn't as prolific as the one that the so-called black man went through, the Judites, because that is the head tribe, and Esau knew what to do. That just like any other. When you bring down a nation, you go to the head tribe, okay, and that was Judah, okay. So that's why they did to Judah what they did to make them an example to all the other tribes, okay. So, the point being that Judah and Ephraim should be oppressed together. We're both in the land of our captivity. You so-called Mexicans, this land, America, is in the land of where you're gonna get rich. The American dream. This land was designated, for your oppression. Not only is some of the states here in the United States used to belong to you, they were stolen from you, man. Okay, but let's get a little bit of this article here. So it says Los Angeles, right here, at the center of the conflict were 50,000 sailors itching to blow off steam before they shipped off to war, and Mexican-American teens called suit zooters for the baggy pants and long jackets they wore for the sailors, and many white Los Angelinos, the suit suiters, had come to symbolize all that was wrong with the city. And that's basically what these Edomites would do, man. Anytime they see a large population of any tribe, basically, okay, they come up against them, man. All right, and if you go to LA, LA is basically another part of Mexico, man. So many Issacharites out there. Okay, so it says biblically capturing the moment when tensions boiled over and the city erupted into some of the worst violence in its history. All right, and it's no surprise that the worst violence in its history was waged against the Israelites. You see, American Experience, Suit Zoo Riots features evocative archival footage and interviews with a wide variety of eyewitnesses and historians. The mood in wartime Los Angeles was one of tension and suspicion. Less than a century before, Los Angeles had been part of Mexico, but by 1942, Mexican Americans were seen as racially inferior and vulnerable to manipulation by enemy agents. You see, and that's the same rhetoric that they push against Judah, man. That they were retarded, that they have the same IQ as the white people had. Okay. And it's all false information, man, because the scriptures say that Israel is the former of all things. Jacob is the former of all things. So basically everything you see here in this society, was created by the Israelites, man. Especially here in America, a lot of these experiments that came out of here, they were stolen from the hands of slaves, man, that through, the spirit of the Most High, by being a talented people, a peculiar people unto himself, we're creating things. Even being in that hardcore slavery, man, Jake was still using ingenuity, okay? And Esau, being the devil that he is, because the scriptures say that the devil cometh not but to steal, to kill, and to murder. All right. So it says right here, Mexican Americans were seen as racially inferior and vulnerable to manipulation by enemy agents. At the same time, Mexican American youth were rebelling against the culture of the tight night barrios of their parents. Jake was getting more used to, and it's gonna go into how they emulated Judah, man. Okay, because out there in Mexico, man, it's a whole different world. Issachar carries themselves a little different. All right, but me personally, I'm from LA, man, so I kind of saw the influence that Judah has in the hoods, man. Even though Issachar will say, F those black dudes, or they use that word mayate a lot. All right, they still emulate and they take cues on everything that Judah does, because Judah, being the head tribe, everybody wants to be like Judah, man. Just think about it. In the ancient times, there were his brothers. Issachar was, I think, the younger brother of Judah. That's just in the spirit. That was something very spiritual. But it says so it says they punctuated their speech with jazz phrases like hip and cool. Just like we do today. I think right now it was the one that they say facts. They say say less. Things like that, man. So it says, and took fashion cues from African Americans, Judah. All right, the way they dress, the way the music they listen to, it all goes back to Judah. All right, so it says, and the scriptures say we all come from the waters of Judah. And took fashion cues from African Americans, favoring the suits, exaggerated baggy pants, and long jackets. Shocked by their outrageous clothes and cocky attitudes, their parents feared they were becoming pachucos or punks. All right, so let's get a few scriptures real quick. So I want to open over here in Revelation 12:10. And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now is come salvation and strength and the kingdom of our power and the power of his anointed. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our power day and night. And that's what they were doing, right? They were saying that we were let's get it real quick. Right here. Mexican Americans were seen as racially inferior and vulnerable to manipulation by enemy agents. And it goes more into how Esau created this whole society, to cause the nation of Israel to go off, man. Okay, so that when we do go off, he basically goes through his witches and his warlocks, and he puts up prayers, accusing us to our Heavenly Father of the things that we're doing, man. Even though he's the one, he's the source of all these abominations that be practiced here in this society. All right, but at the end of the day, he still accuses us, man. He'll accuse us in front of his judges, through his police and things like that. So that all we have in this society is oppression. Okay. So I'll get this real quick. So this is Genesis 27:41, and this is basically where all this hate comes from, man. This perpetual hatred. This is Genesis 27:41, and Esau hated Jacob, and Jacob is the forefather of all 12 tribes. But because of the blessing wherewith the Most High, wherewith his father blessed him, Salakia, and Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father are at hand, then will I slay my brother Jacob. And throughout the scriptures, man, you find that Esau, the so-called white man, has had animosity against our people, man. And that's what we see right now, even to this day. And that's what we had throughout history, situations like that. Where, Issachar, we use this situation for Issachar, the Suzu riots. But Judah, what was it? Roswell, the Black Wall Street. All right, you have many different situations where Judah was building something, and the so-called white man came and destroyed it, man. And it all goes back to this perpetual hatred, this hate, where Esau, gave up his birthright, and basically he was supplanted for his blessing. Okay, so on all levels, this man hates us because he lost something precious to us, man. Which was basically the inheritance of the whole earth. What we're about to inherit. Okay, so his hate is a deep hate, man. That's why right here in Ezekiel the 35th chapter, the 5th verse, goes into how because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an heir. Therefore, as I live, saith the Lord power, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee. Since thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee. All right? And that's ultimately the reason why this man is going to go into captivity and ultimately going to get put to death. Okay? Because he had no pity, man. All right? He like the scriptures say, they help forward the affliction. And these are all forms of them help forwarding the affliction, man. Humiliating our people. Okay? Because if you go into, they were ripping the clothes off of these teens. Okay? They were basically, getting them naked, basically, man, in front of everybody. That's a shameful thing. All right. So it says, on August 1st, 1942, the 19-year-old Hank Levas and a group of his friends from LA's 38th Street crashed a party near a swimming hole dubbed the Sleepy Lagoon. All right. Claiming the partygoers had beaten him and his girlfriend earlier, Levas was determined to get revenge. All right. A brawl ensued after Levas and his friends left the party. Neighbors found Jose Diaz badly beaten and stabbed. His subsequent death was a call to action for the city's police, for whom Mexican-American youth crime had been a growing concern. All right. Within 48 hours, a police dragnet snagged 600 young Mexican-Americans. Levas and 31 others were indicted for Diaz's murder. All right, and you could watch this movie. It's the Zuzu riots, with Edward James Olmos, and basically that happened in that part of in the LA area of LA, man. Okay, where they basically got all these people locked up. Okay. So it says, when the Sleepy Lagoon trial began in October 1942, it was the largest mass trial in California history. And to no one's surprise is the Israelites that are, going through this, man. You gotta keep up with it, man. There's a trend of hate, a trend of systematic racism for you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. All right. So it says, he sat all the defenders together, isolated from their lawyers, and refused to permit them to clean up or change their clothes for the trial. He basically had them in dirty clothes because, if you know anything about the law and the way the legal system is done here, when anybody goes into, when you're being defended, when you're a defendant in any case, one of the things that the judges do or your attorney does, he'll have you, he'll give you a clean suit. He'll get you a haircut. He'll make you look nice, man. Make you look presentable, so that when the jury passes judgment, the judgment is more favorable to you. Okay, so that's what that means. So it says the 38th Street kids testify when they arrive at the party. 2 girls in the group found Diaz lying in the shadows, mortally wounded. They attended to him while Levas and his friends fought with others. The defendants admitted that one boy hit Diaz, but they denied responsibility for his death. Neither the press nor the jury believed their story, Just like where was it, in Brooklyn? I can't remember the name, but it was basically 4 Judites and I think Ephraimite that got indicted for the rape of a woman, man. Okay, and then it turned out a few years later that they didn't do it. Okay, so this is a systematic double standard that's being deployed on you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, man. All right. So on January 12, 1943, 17 defendants were found guilty. Levas was sentenced to life in San Quentin prison, believing the boys had been railroaded. A group of intellectuals and Hollywood celebrities, Orson Welles and Rita Hayworth among them, lent their names to the Sleepy Lagoon Defense Committee. In the months following the trials, sailors and suit suiters squared off in regular skirmishes as tensions mounted. On June 3, dozens of enraged sailors armed with belts and clubs set off to avenge an attack on a sailor several nights before. The bloody confrontation between servicemen and suit suiters that followed marked the beginning of Zuzu riot. Over the next 5 days, sailors focused their attack on suit suiters. And there was a lot of rape going on during this time, man. They show you that in the movie, what is it? Where Edward J's Almost, where basically he was, his birth was a product of his mom being raped by one of these sailors. Okay? So it says, over the next 5 days, sailors focused their attacks on Zoot Suiters. Then they unleashed their rage on any Mexican American in their path. The fighting spread from downtown into the barrios of East LA. All right? The sailors stripped Zoot Suiters and burned their clothing in the streets. On the 5th day of the riots, 5,000 civilians showed up to assist the service members. Mexican American kids organized and fought back. This is Jake's nature, man. You're going to fight. You know what I mean? And that's, if you go into the history of gangs, this is why gangs in his youth were formed, man, for protection. Okay? A lot of these OG gangs in LA go back all the way back to these times, man. The 30s, the 40s, the 50s. Okay? So it says, for days, the LAPD hung back. Finally, on June 8, military authorities and civilian leaders declared the city off limits to servicemen, ending the rioting. But they allowed it to go on, man. The next day, the city council banned the wearing of suits on LA streets. Ironically, Hank Levas and the 38 Street Boys were sheltered from the Suzu riots in prison. The Sleepy Lagoon Defense Committee successfully appealed their case, claiming that they had been denied a fair trial. The 38 Street Boys were released in October 1944 after serving 2 years in prison. Although the boys were not clear of the murder charge, the LA authorities decided not to retry the case. So this is basically, for you so-called Mexicans, man, that think that you never been through nothing, that this man, when you came, he provided open arms and that he loved you, man. You're in error, okay? Because prophecy says that, according to Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, the 15 verse on down, it basically breaks down all the curses that you will suffer in this society, okay? And that's basically what you're going to go through, okay? So it says, let me finish this in Ezekiel 35. Because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end. Therefore, as I live, saith the Lord power, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee. Since thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee. All right, and that's ultimately was promised to you so-called white people, man. You Edomites, all right? Slavery, death, all right? Just like you made us drink of that cup, that was not supposed to be drunk by us, you're going to drink of it, and you're going to drink the dregs and double of it, okay? Thus will I make Mount Seir most desolate, and cut off from it him that passes out and him that returneth. All right, so the Lord's going to make an utter end of this society, man, for the way that they have treated our people, all right? So I'll get this and close it out. Ecclesiasticus 12:10. Never trust an enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him. And thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust has not been altogether wiped away. Set him not by thee, lest when he hath overthrown thee, he stand up in thy place. Neither let him sit at thy right hand, lest he seek to take thy seat. And thou at the last remember my words and be pricked therewith. So take heed, man. You so-called Mexican, man, you're of the tribe of Israel. You're of one of the tribes of Israel. Yashashakar, Issachar, man. Okay? So, come back to that knowledge, man, because if you're hand in hand with your enemy, the none of the wicked shall be saved, basically. So this man has never had your best interest in mind. And ultimately, you're gonna see in the days that are to come that, we've been telling you the truth. The prophets of the Most High, YAHAWASHI, we're actually setting up the hedge for you so that you may be protected, man. Okay, but only those that take heed are gonna be protected. All right. So with that, I hope the lesson was edifying. I want to give all praise and glory to Yahawah, BAHA YAHAWASHI, BAHA QADASH. Double honors to the apostles and elders at Great Millstone who rule well, and salutations to all the occupations worth in truth and sincerity. I would like to say Shalom.